How's it feel to be back here after 38 years?
Oh, feels pretty good. Feels like being back, kind of back home again.
Poison ivy over here with strawberries.
I'm just getting my bearings here because this road here was never really here, I don't believe. I believe that I had gone down just a little bit further, and then I had to cut up, and it leads me up because you can see this ridge line right here, and you can see a ridge line in the back. That's a ridge line right there. That's what I'm shooting for right there. We're gonna come around this corner right here, and then it's gonna dog leg back up again. You know, it was the easiest way in. In between that it's almost like what I would call a short ravine, like almost like a little meadow in there. And we knew that that was the way that the deer would come down off that ridge also, and they'd come in here and bed down in here, being close to the water source down here. So we would have to watch out that we didn't jump deer in there. Now that deer, as soon as it was a deer, was headed this way, you know. So something must have spooked it to go this way, because normally deer will just stand there. So they're inquisitive too. They want to know which way you're going to go.
Come out and tag these things, and they have all these.
Yep.
Somebody comes out and paints it.
Yep.
So
Indian Head Rock.
that's with
Indian Rock.
no.
Yeah,
No, the rubber, the deer rubber in there.
could have been.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to make references to TV shows.
The Vogel here?
No, I ain't.
Now I've taken one comment off of one of the podcasts where a guy had made the comment. He said that there is no trail after Indian Rock. He said the trail I'm speaking of was before Indian Rock. There are no trails before Indian Rock. This trail is after Indian Rock. It was right in here one night. I was up here before all of this actually ever happened to me, and we were trying to put the muffler back on my brother's car. We had 4 guys with us.
Sounds about right.
And he got out and he got underneath the back of that car, and I could hear something right up here, because basically that's where we're going, okay? Right up in here at the top of the ridge, I thought was maybe a deer just jumping up because it was kind of dark out. And it started coming down, and then it started picking up speed. And it probably got down, I'd say, because you couldn't really see it, but you could hear it, I'd say probably maybe 60 yards from the car and probably maybe 40 yards in, and it cut. It started coming at us this way here, and at that very moment, another one started coming straight down here, and I just started, there's something goes right there.
Is that a deer?
Was that a deer?
I just saw it. I saw the moon.
Yeah, it's black. Something moved up there.
Cue the deer.
Bike, is that a trail up there? I know, right when
Cue
you're
the
talking.
Bigfoot.
Like, seriously. I think you're, like, I would think a kid on a bike.
That's right. Just continue, Ernie.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll just no.
So anyways, what had happened is I told him a couple times that you need to get out. It was bothersome. I didn't know what it was, a cougar, what it was heavy, it was coming at us. He got out, he picked up the sound, and that was it. We got in that vehicle and we took off. I never even dreamed of, you know, anything with 2 legs coming through the woods, but this was actually a triangulated approach to my brother being under the back of the car at night. But I just figured, you know, back then I couldn't be defeated.
I'm just doing video. I don't need a signal.
I want to take a shot of that. It gives an explanation of what we're doing in the area.
I don't know what's going on, filling up water in there.
No, maybe not.
Told me that it was good. You knew how to find it. It was weird because he was involved in the judge. I guess the water tunnels or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how I come across the idea. There's around a lot of the pines. So,
I mean, just as you know, everybody talks about Bigfoot usually running around and kill horses and kill deer. And I think they're more of an opportunist. I don't think that, you know, in the nature world, if an animal expends energy, is burning calories, is burning energy,
right.
you have to replace it. It's the most successful part. When you're working on low mileage, like low gas.
And from my topographical maps and the research I did on it, I knew as we all just drove up here, we went by the apple orchard on the other side of Drake Mountain here, and I knew that the wind was blowing up over this way here. So I didn't want to enter from this way if the wind was going in the opposite direction. So I chose to come in this way here, and I also had sign that they were bedding down up near the 3/4 of the way up Drake Mountain, and that was my objective.
Right. So previous knowledge and direction of wind kind of brought you this way.
Yeah.
Copy that.
Guys, I probably would have gave a short whistle so that anybody that was in back, like where Tim is in back, he would have been like our security guy. Tim would have stopped because that deer would have been focused on me and not him, and he would have known that I had spotted something up here, and he would have tried to come up around behind and flank it on the opposite side, thus pushing that deer towards me, forcing it towards me, or towards the middle guys. It would have came out directly towards the middle guys, or you guys right now would have shot each other, but that would have been okay. Some on purpose, not to warn you, Wojo.
No, but who got the deer?
Tim.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, because
Richie's got
Is he
cat-like
here to be a
reflexes. I don't. He would have done the Matrix thing.
Yes. I would have dodged that bullet.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I have a magnet right here. No. I was about to quit my job, right?
get in your mouth, taste it.
Yeah.
Smell it, taste it.
If I had a nickel for everything.
You get a little thirsty. That's
You
what
put
you're
these
looking
in your
for.
water bottle.
And it's legal in 48 states.
Oh, that's even better.
Are we talking about goats or this plant?
Between the two ridges, indeed does have a path. Now the Hilltown Hikers Association probably uses that to this day.
Uncle Mitt's path?
Well, no, this could be part of it because it does intersect up there, because the farmer, if they use any part of this, they would have tried to use the easiest path down to keep their tractors straight, which they wouldn't have been able to do coming down the ridge, okay? I think that he would have taken a straight shot through, but I can assure you, I'll bet you that deer do use this path still.
No doubt.
And proof is, on the way in, we thought we seen a deer, we headed this way. So that would be when maybe one of our hunting members would have said, you know what, I'm gonna set up right down
stop
here.
here.
So now we know where one guy is.
Yep.
They coming this way?
You're probably coming down the trail with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump on when they come by.
Moving as we were coming up. I don't know if it's a deer or not. I don't know yet.
That ought to stir the deer up.
Hey, maybe push them our way.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that it probably was correct that path that we've seen there was probably the path that I used to take, because since they're using this here,
Gonna meet.
yeah, well, it sounds to me like it comes down this way here. It goes up way too far. You know, even though I want to be up near there, I think our path is right there that was on that deer run.
Yeah.
So,
We'll backtrack. We'll walk.
yeah,
Check it out.
I think so. Yeah, because now they're going that way there, and this one here
Yeah.
just appears. Can you pop up a map of Drake Mountain?
I don't have reception.
Okay.
I should have brought a map. I don't even know where it is. No, wait a minute. No, I don't have it. I said I might have taken a screenshot of the camp, and it might be on
Yeah.
it, but probably not.
They're bedded down in between these boulders that you can't really see too
I can
well.
see a big one right there, yeah.
But you see one on the right, one smack in the middle.
When did you approach into the woods, though? Did you go
I
around
never
more?
got a chance to. I was back maybe about 10 yards,
Yep.
and that's when they jumped.
The deer?
The deer jumped up and they headed directly away from me,
Yeah.
you know, towards that ridge line, and that's when I knew what I had to do is I had to get around in front of them. Fortunately for me, I'm at a point now, as I know that this bears up and parallels that
I
ridge.
see. I find
So I decided what I was going to do is
see
beat
a
them.
hook
try to
branch right
beat
there
them
hanging.
to,
I found them a lot of times when there's branches
down
all above
further
where
up
there's
the
no
trail.
way it fell there.
get out in front of them.
Well, that's what we just found a
For them right there, knowing that they were coming through.
190
They sound
twist.
really
It was
good.
approximately
That's what
that big.
They were,
Just right over here.
they just jumped up.
And I
Looks
found
like-
I found a glyph.
This one was snapped off right behind you there.
I found a glyph that we walked past. It's more perfect straight that I've ever seen. And that had to be about over 20 feet.
Snap this one off and
That's a huge
it started growing again.
boulder, and they're set up.
Yeah, I find a lot of the perfectly horizontal too. Big long limbs
What
hanging.
I'm looking
Yeah, remember the guys, this is 38 years ago. This was the last time he was here. And he had his experience.
What's that? That big bulge?
And,
I think that's what they call a burl.
remember all these different things?
So it was from basically this point on,
Woodworkers like them.
I started taking note of the my terrain.
Yeah, yeah.
I had
Stuff like that.
to get by them to set up my ambush.
Basically,
And it was
something
crispy out that morning.
deep-
Some of the
something
leaves had
ran
frost
into
on them,
the
but
bug or
fortunately for me,
causes disease, and
there
it
used to
grows
be
around it. It's like a scab.
a lot of
Where did he
these
say
stones
he
were
was sitting?
slabs,
It's still
and they were
growing.
more like sandstone. So I was able to, you know, walk where I could and get onto a sandstone rock, walk across that, and where I felt that they might hear me, because I was trying to be as quiet as I could. That's where I started two-stepping in hopes that if they did hear me, they would mistake me for a four-legged animal, not a human being.
Right, okay, right.
Yeah, I took
Because the wind was still in your favor.
It was absolutely still in my favor at that
And remember,
point.
guys, he's hunting deer at this point. There's
Right.
no signs of anything
Right.
else.
So
he's
I'm going to
talking
try
about
to
deer.
move out in front of them, and if everything works out fine, then I'll be out in front of them. And it did that morning.
Yeah.
I managed it.
Worked out quite fine, sir.
They said that was my first black bear.
So here you go. You
All my
recap.
years hunting up in New Hampshire.
Ernie's recalling his encounter with Sasquatch, close up encounter, involving hand signals, and sign language, that's what he feels, and what he saw. And then jump down that rabbit hole.
At this point here, because I was moving slow, I had to really be focused in on what they were doing. So I'm listening to them.
As you go.
I want to make sure they're not going back down that side of the mountain, that they're still unconcerned about me and they're still traveling parallel to me.
Right.
I didn't take into consideration why they would continue on that route.
Right.
But in hindsight,
They
when I
knew
think
something
back,
else was there.
when I got up around this corner, the second part of this S corner up here, I could hear something off to their right. They didn't seem concerned with it. So I attribute it to the fact is what I've got is I've got an alpha doe or something keeping them all in line, or I got a buck that's just following off to their right-hand side and they're being pushed towards my objective. You know, so they're probably being a little distracted, but I was really listening to the deer. I didn't want to hear them that they were going to get excited or anything like that. They seemed to be really relaxed and browsing, you know, eating twigs and things like that.
Did you guys have a tornado anytime recent?
We have.
Look at this awning right here stuck in this tree.
Yeah. It's aluminum.
It had to come from somewhere pretty far away.
Doesn't belong here, I'll tell you that.
Wonder how long ago they put that in. That thing could talk. Here's a little deer trail.
Change the trails up every once in a while because it continues to fall.
Yeah.
To your left.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, how many times?
This here's probably, Woj, come here. This here's probably snow load here.
How many times as a hunter did you walk right past stuff like that and not even notice it? Now it just jumps out at you.
Yeah, here, it's all cracking in here. Popping it out.
Stressing.
And there's probably snow load.
Yeah.
There's a big branch and skinny.
You guys get snow up here?
Just a bit.
Yes, a little bit.
Well, that's what happens when you get mature forest.
Yeah.
These little trees struggle and they don't grow. They just shoot up to right. So you get these string bean things and all of a sudden they get a little light. Poof! They pop out of canopy and you don't have the bones to stick it out. So they bend over.
We don't get near the snow we used to. The last several winters we haven't had much at all.
These things are struggling for light. That's what they're
People
doing.
use like smears and stuff.
I think it's my fault because I bought a snow blower.
Thomas, thank you. I'm sorry, what was what?
No, I was saying, some people use it. And all I keep saying is, well, it's possible.
Now you kept going up here around these rocks? Yeah. You take me right where you went in if you can. Right. When you start cutting right, you know what I mean? You're on the path when you cut right, or you go off trail?
Cutting these deer off. As you can see, what might appear to be flat ground with everybody, it's not.
No, it isn't.
As you can see where you, as far as you can see, then it drops and comes up. The deer was following that. That would be Drake's Brook.
You know how hard it is for me right now, like running those woods? Like, I'm not a trail guy. I see that stuff and I'm like, I'm into the woods. Can't help it. This place is amazing. Ooh, a little cooler right here, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like 10 degrees different.
That was beautiful. I like that. I just hit a wall of cool air. Thank you, God. Hit that like button, please. Like and subscribe if you're new here. Check it out. Are you hearing something?
I heard birds, that's all I heard.
Yeah, that's probably covered. Oh, you know what it is? I think there's something coming from your headphone on your walk. Yeah, I think I heard it again.
My batteries might be going low.
It was going whoop,
Except I don't hear it.
like wind almost. What happened? Yeah.
That didn't capture your attention.
No, I'm talking with Ernie. Oh, they're moving in? Yep. We got 3 trees to work with.
Just, that's peculiar.
Yeah.
How tight is it? All right. We got 1 tree here, 2 trees, 3 trees.
So where did it come from is the question.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
None of these trees are that big.
How's it go over in between? And this guy, you got to imagine, was probably straighter at one point.
Yeah, it's just rot. So,
But you don't see any scrape marks going down.
no, that's
It's just,
You know, in that book, he always mentioned about how the bark stripped on it too.
Always the bottom.
Yeah.
those are the things that'll bring me over to your side.
Yep, we're working on you, Tim.
Yeah.
We've been working on that.
Did you have the stagehand run up and set that up so I could find it?
Good job.
You mean those eyes didn't bring you over a little bit?
Someone got a bullshit badge out of Scout today. Good job, kid.
Good job, kid.
It was hard to get my buddy to hold them 2 orange lights real still like that.
Same distance, too.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Place is amazing.
This hasn't been logged for 60 to 80 years, and you can tell by the size of these oaks. That's a 60 to 70, 80-year-old tree right
I had a tree fall in my yard and I cut it up.
there. It hasn't been touched.
It was about 6-inch diameter, had 70 rings on it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
What was it? Something like locust or something?
Some
No,
of these trees
wasn't locust.
you see now were nothing but saplings.
Saplings.
Yeah. When I came through here, so what I'm trying to do for my own self, I'm trying to read that ridge line
Backwards.
to make sure, to make sure nobody had moved the trail, which people will try to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking for old sign that path actually was where I said it was near the deer. Now, that is the ridge line, okay? The distance might seem a little funky to me, but that's okay because it joins up down the end down here. But I could still hear the deer.
Right.
Okay, and now at this point right here, I was even with them. They would stop, I would stop, and then leave them, and then try to move out in front of them, as quick as I could.
Right? Try to do something down here. You're playing engine yourself. So like we're back in my research area. Planes, trains, automobiles.
Yeah.
Quite profound.
You'll hear in my account too that I say that when I was up there, when I was doing my own body check, a plane flew over me. That's Bradley.
Yeah.
That plane that just flew over us was headed towards Bradley.
Going to
Yeah.
Bradley, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you
You
saying
can use
that.
that to your advantage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd give you a little cover for noise.
Well, that's what they do as well, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always tell everybody on my audience, I go, listen down low, even with the wind. Because the wind, if it's up high, you can hear movement down low. And you can see nothing's moving down low, but you can hear the wind from above. And all of a sudden you hear that little scurry underneath, like down in here. It's amazing how your ears can adapt to that shit.
Especially if you got these on.
Yeah, those things are sick. I'm getting some of those. I'm not gonna wear them.
I think they were $60. They're called Impact Sport.
I'm in. I took a picture last night of them. And I rubbed them in a weird way. So.
Walkers
So yeah, good luck.
make some too, so you might want to do a comparison, see which one you like better. But
The one I like better is the cheaper one.
they're about the same price, I think.
There you go.
Walkers might be cheaper.
I got 83 kids.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah, see it? I don't want to peek at that water. See if they can push.
Is this Drake's Brook, Ernie?
Ernie, is this Drake's Brook?
Right on the other side of where we're going. We're almost there. We have about another 70 yards to go.
So we're at the right moment to look for tracks with all that rain we've had.
Yeah. That's why I was looking at that little wet area over there.
A lot has changed. All of this was a lot of saplings in here, so you really couldn't see that stone wall from here, but I knew where it was.
Right.
And this is where they were coming through, right here where you see the brush and everything. It was all saplings. It was all beech nuts going in through here. And I knew that I was out in front of it.
Is this the rock wall?
Yes, this is the point that I knew I was out in front of them. And my objective was to get to the other side of this rock wall that conjoins the paths, dog legs back down Drake Mountain. Because I knew that if I did that and they kept coming, they would have to go over this stone wall. And if they went over the stone wall, you could only jump and then reconnoiter yourself to take a different direction. And that's exactly how I set up. Knowing when they came over and they landed, I would have my shot. There's a wall there. There's a wall right there. There's a stone wall. Yep. Yeah, I'm actually seeing parts of it now that I never saw that day because of the terrain and the saplings. There's so many saplings in here.
And they're no longer
You know,
saplings.
They're no longer saplings.
Their cover is up there now. Yeah. Interesting. Things you don't think of, right?
Yeah.
It's true. It's
Now,
true.
you can see this might not be to the viewers, but it bears off to the right.
Yeah. I can see the little opening right there.
This is where I took a lower stance because I didn't want to be spotted. I don't want to silhouette myself.
Yeah.
So I crouched a little bit and get up to my
So you
position.
have the sapling protecting you, not necessarily the ferns. Are the ferns here at this point?
No.
So it's mainly just sapling.
Mainly
You kind of go into a crouch position and start kind of slowing down, right?
Yeah, and I had some big, thick old pines, not as many pines as there are now, so it's been pretty much an open shot. This was my point right here, that I wanted to back around on them when they came over that stone wall. So I got up to this point right here. It looks like somebody has used. Okay, that was my concern, because it seemed we were just a little bit off, so you could actually see that ridge line a lot better. Okay, but now you're going to see where I set up.
Well, the ridge line was probably above all these little saplings at that point.
Yeah, but you couldn't really see the down north of Jim's guy. I just wanted to yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah. Ernie, is this where you parked your car today? You ever go?
No.
You sure?
You sure?
Well, that was a bad wreck, wasn't it?
You don't remember. Looks like an old Chevelle or something.
You parked it right there.
Oh, the old steering column.
Did the airbag go off?
Yeah. Sure did.
Growing in it.
Yeah, that's right. Ritchie said.
That's why we said, you parked your car here?
That was a long.
He's like, hey dude, where's my car?
And there's a fender down there.
Oh, maybe that's where Noreen came for her Sasquatch thing.
That's funny.
Ernie, where'd you
Folks in
park
these
your
hills
car?
are different.
This would have been it, right here, and you can probably still see what appears to be.
Stone
I
wall.
need to take just a little bit of a jaunt right here. I want to make sure that this is not something that has been put in the past 30 years. You know, that I'm off, that someone might have been moving trails here on me. It seems the right length of time for me,
Part of it ended up over here.
but I'm just reliving that moment to remember exactly what.
Yeah, we're not rushing. Enjoy that moment.
Yeah.
No moment, bro.
This is all clear, pretty much. There weren't even half as many trees here. As I could see, there was no real ground cover, no ferns right here. As I approached it from this end right here, where we just came up, a little ways back, I scoped this whole area, trying to make sure that there was nothing in here that was going to give me away. You know, and I could hear them still coming. And I came down to right about here. Right about exactly here. And I scooched down just a little bit. And that's when I noticed movement. I'll walk while you guys see it here, and I'll stand right where it was standing so you can get a good idea.
So you're in the spot right now where you
I'm in
are
the
next
spot.
to Sasquatch.
Yeah, I'm in the spot. That old stone wall that came down through here was kind of beaten up at the time, but I imagine it's even more beaten up with all the leaves on it and everything else. You could see pretty far, and like I said, these trees here weren't here. There were some big old pine trees here, but that was it. So I scooched down right here. I knew there wasn't anything was going to be a distraction. If they came over that stone wall, they would not even know that I was here. There was no squirrels, there wasn't anything. So I was standing, I was crouched down there, and what caught my peripheral vision was movement off my 9 o'clock. I believe this is a tree. Under this here. A little bit, not that much. Sorry, guys.
Well, in November, none of this greenery here is probably here.
Yeah, it was November, right?
All these tall plants.
It was the first week of December.
So you can probably see pretty good.
There's either I'm misjudging that, or that's the stone wall, and we're standing in the beech nut grove. Okay, we're standing in the beech nut grove, and I'm waiting just on the other side of this stone wall right here, and I would be standing right over there. So this trail here is a new trail relatively, and this path doglegs from that section over there, because this is a stone wall. I waited for him to come over. So from over there, I can show you the exact position.
Here comes the black choppers.
Yeah.
I was waiting on the other side of this stone wall where Ritchie's standing, where them deer almost would have landed coming towards me.
The deer are down here, Ernie?
Yeah, they were coming right, they were gonna come right in through you and over that stone wall. That was all beech nuts. These were the old pine trees right here. And my path that I took, it's changed a lot. That I took should have been. That looks like the path right here. That would have come in here, and that would have been the shot from about 40 yards. That would have been the dog leg right there. Yep.
All coming back. There's the beer you drank, Ernie.
Even the Massachusetts Hilltown Hikers Association, when you view it up here, there's a marker on that path that turns this way here. I don't believe that it was down any further than this. I just want to check. You guys can wait. I just want to make 100%.
Do that, right?
That appears to me
Is that granite?
It's called schist, and it's got mica in it. It's
Oh,
the
mica.
old mountain rotten.
I've tried hot spots.
Boy, that whole part of the trail, they scrubbed that right out. That's overgrown, so you're just gonna have to use your eyes, and you can.
Is that the top of the tree or the bottom of the tree?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that. Is that a stump?
That's what I was trying to tell if that's a root ball there.
It is a root ball. There's all these little bricks.
Yeah, it looked like it fell from here.
That's-
Hit the tree up top. You see the scar where it fell down?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what it looks like.
yeah. I was looking at that. It looked like a root ball. Wait, everything's coming out from it, but yeah, you can see where it snapped off right there. Yeah.
But you can still see that stone wall. Right. And I'm just going by.
So you're a forest ranger?
Yeah.
And you never had a sighting?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have? Okay. Well, why were you saying you coming over to our side? Oh, you mean about tree structure?
Tree structure.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. There is a lot of weird stuff the wind can do, that's for sure.
Well, when you make a living in the woods, you see a lot of weird stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
sometimes 2 and 2 equals 4. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
That's the stuff that interests me. Like that
yeah.
interwoven stick we just saw. That's interesting. That doesn't, sometimes they fall that way. They say, how come it's interlocked like that?
Well, how many times?
Let's say you got a bunch of pines and some of them are bad at the top.
Yeah.
They're rotten off, they're ready to go. you get a big wind. Now these trees are blowing like this.
Yeah.
Top of that tree breaks off, falls in between them, comes in, and boom. Now you've got a woven stick. How'd that happen? Dude, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it. And that's how it happens. The trees are blowing like this. The whip breaks the top of the stick. It falls in. It's now lateral inside. And
Do you see very many where they're like
they could be
perfectly
10,
level
15
up in the air?
Yeah, it could be 15 feet up, something like that. It could be
Yeah.
20 feet up, wherever that tree lands, wherever catches it.
Yeah.
All the time just means that.
No, because I was here, and if this is the actual positioning of it, that tree, you see this dead tree right here? On the other side of that dead tree? Well, that tree there, I'm not gonna say that's the tree, could be the one just behind it, but that tree right there was about that size back 30, almost 40 years ago.
Do you mind if Wojo goes and walks and maybe
Yeah,
that'll
you go
help,
right ahead.
maybe that'll help trigger something for you too?
Yeah,
Where you see
yeah,
it?
maybe, yeah.
You be Bobo.
Yeah, you be Bobo.
You go right ahead.
Don't forget to hold your hands up and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
All right?
So
Paul,
you're going
Renee,
straight towards that dead tree, Wojo.
Tell him how much he sucks.
Watch out for any old wells. They're probably covered up, and if you fall in there, we don't have any ropes to get you out.
I say that makes you clip, but I would leave you to be someone else.
Okay, right where you are, Wojo, that tree to your left.
Did you get his keys, Richie?
Right there, that tree right there. You want to stand right about at that tree right there, because that's
help?
about the distance. Yeah,
That helps?
yeah, that helps. So I would have been from that stone wall over to here. What I had figured was about 40 yards. And that's when where Wojo was standing, behind Wojo on the ground, I noticed something move. That's not the actual tree, because it would be a lot bigger. The actual tree could have been back just a couple feet.
Maybe that big one behind him?
There's
Yeah.
a big busted one behind it.
Yeah,
Yes,
maybe
that's what I'm
maybe
thinking.
you're here,
Yeah.
and I'm looking over here.
No, I would have been exactly positioned on that tree. I would have been exactly positioned right here, only because when I picked it up out of my peripheral, I seen something move, and it drew my attention. Later on, as you heard my account, towards the end, it started appearing to be a man. So now I'm concerned because it's got its head around the other side of that tree. And I'm thinking that if it's another hunter, he's heard these deer. So now he's going to take a shot if they come over that stone wall. I don't want to get hit. So what I want to do is I want to move up, so I'm still in this peripheral because I'm in a crouched position like this. And I'm trying to maintain that over there. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to give up my position to the deer, but I don't want to get shot. So I'm going to move up, so I'm going to be in his peripheral if he comes around to take a shot on the deer. So I moved up just a couple of feet right to like this right here, still crouching down. But now I'm going to check him out, make sure that what's he doing. You know, now it seems like I got an unknown hunter with me here, and he gets up even taller. And as he gets up, he's still got his head around the other side of that tree. And if you want, you can stand right where I'm standing, and I'll go to that tree and I'll show you exactly what's going on that big tree.
you want to do.
It appears
You be Ernie, Richie.
I'm already.
I can't believe how things change.
Can you stand up?
Now you probably have a.
Could I? Yes. There were no ferns.
Remember like a white rock?
The white rock?
I'll come out with Mark. I'm gonna stay here and see what his distance and what he says. What? No, I don't want something snack. I'm out in the woods. Oh, those are good though. Those are cucumber. Right?
Yeah.
They actually taste like cucumber. Yeah. It's mind blowing. I know, but I gotta dip in right
Do copperheads taste like cucumber?
Sure.
now. Yeah.
After you're hallucinating
I was
away.
gonna say, after you're tripping balls off. Right. Here we go.
I'll try it.
Let's see what he's at.
No, that's all right. I don't even like cucumbers, really.
Oh, this is good for you.
All that
I believe it. Sure it is.
so, yeah,
Juicy. Good
It's
stuff.
not processed.
we'll do it over there.
No GMOs.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back. Hang on, I gotta go back where he was. I'm trying to stay with him.
You know, we were talking about.
Yep.
Yep.
So you can see.
He came around when the ruckus started, and all hell broke loose over there. He was dead focused on it. He came around this side here, still maintaining his cover, watching over there, and he caught me in his peripheral where you guys are standing. And as he caught me in his peripheral, he looked over at me, he looked back across here, and he went,
Like a double take.
double take, and then he did this.
Oh. Shit.
He checked me out.
Yeah.
I got my shotgun right on him.
Right on. Look at that. I mean, you can't miss it, right?
So you draw your
Like
shotgun.
this.
Oh. Wait. Let me do that again. So you got your shotgun, you draw it,
Yeah, I got it on him.
and Sasquatch holds up his hands like that to
This
you.
position right here. He went, this wasn't here, so I'm gonna move it. And then he went just like this. And all hell broke loose on the other side of that stone wall. Knocked down, drag out. And as he took a couple steps towards me, still looking at me, scoping me out, he goes like this to me. He goes, still checking me out, waiting for something. I don't think he believed I was real. He walks towards me again,
Oh my god.
and he stops. He goes, I don't know. I'm doing body checks on me and watching him. I had already dropped my shotgun. He won me over when he did that. I'm like, what's going on? And he proceeded to walk towards me again. And he goes, right about here, he goes, I don't know what he's doing. I have no clue. You know, but I'm sucking it in. And now I'm getting the drift that I got to repeat something back to him because he's not going to stop. You know, and I'm not afraid. But now I'm making out more facial features because back there, I couldn't tell because of his skin tone whether it was hair from here down or from here down. I couldn't tell. But now, as he walks towards me more, I see his eyes. And at this range, I could tell these things were like a husky blue. He continues to walk at me like this. And he just walks right up to me. And I'm just completely amazed with him. And as he walks towards me, of course I'm stumbling.
He was a little smoother.
As he walks towards me, he moves in, still staring at me, and I'm checking him out, and he's checking me out, and he nods at me, and he goes like this. Just like that to me. Puts his hand out, that right straight down in front of me.
Is it the shaky hand? Or is
No.
it what do you think it was?
He wanted me to look at his palm.
Oh.
And I looked at his palm, but I'm kind of freaked. You know, and I'm watching him, so I drop my hand. I got my hand like this. I'm trying not to move my shoulder because he's looking at me. And I drop my hand down on my pistol, right where my knife is right now. I dropped my hand on, my palm was just hitting my pistol grip, and he caught the movement. And he goes, like, look at your palm, you know, look at the palm, you know. Now I seen the back of his arms, I seen his forearm, I seen his everything. Where we have hair, they have hair, you know. But it was about that close to me, you know, right-handed. And he tapped his palm.
What did you hear when he tapped his palm though?
I heard him tap the palm, like
Skin on skin.
skin on skin, like tap that
You
palm.
think that was the message?
It was deliberate, like look at my palm, you know, not give him anything, but look at my palm, you know.
I'm human.
Yeah, I'm human. And
Bro.
now I'm thinking that what I need to do here is I need to somehow parlay something back to him. I don't know which way this is going to go, you know. So I decide I'm gonna parlay some hand sign back to him, you know. So I give him a bit of the hand sign back. I ain't got no food, you know. And my last hand sign to him was, I figured what he was asking me where I came from, because I doubt very much he's going to tell me I was being flanked, there was more in here. So I went like that to him. And that's when he looked at me like that, you know, and he turned just like this. Now at that point, I was standing this close to him, and I came up to about here on his bicep, you know, below his shoulder.
Your head was below his
Oh
shoulder.
yeah, right up to here. I was pretty damn close to him, and he put both hands up and he turned towards that stone wall where that knockdown drag out was going on. It pretty much had resided by that point. So how long it took him to walk towards me, I can't honestly tell you. It's kind of bothersome. Yeah. At a distance, but he closed that distance. He knew how to approach.
Smooth.
And he looked over that stone wall. He looked at me like and went like that, and he puts his hands up to his mouth and he goes 3 times, 1.5 seconds in between. He goes, woo, woo, woo. I'm gonna tell you, it was loud. It was really resonating loud, like bass loud. And he looked back at me again, and I was watching him, and he bowed to me, and he goes, I can't do whistle like anymore. He goes, like, come here, you know, and he goes like this. And he points off in the direction that he just came. Just like that, he turns toward me one last time, and he goes, and he walks straight out that way there to about 55 yards. He gets out there, and, you know, thank God I didn't shoot. I had reason to believe there was more than one of them in there. Right. You know, I don't know how much ammo I'm going to need to get out of all of this. But one broke through there. I wasn't real sure that it was one. I was 99% because I knew them deer weren't having their own WWE in there. I knew something serious was going on because I could hear limbs in there, not branches, limbs. I could hear boulders probably off that stone wall. And it broke through the saplings over here. There should have been an old path, probably impossible to find now. It jumped over that section of the stone wall down there that parallels that, where we are going that way, and then over Drake Brook. And this was all clear. You could see, okay? You could see down over in here. And it ran from that point to 55, maybe 60 yards out, straight away from the tree where he was down by, and stopped and turned back towards the direction where that one was going to come. And sure enough, here it comes. Now I catch him because I'm like, what in the hell is that? Right. You know, this was way bigger than a moose, way bigger than a deer, you know, and I'm thinking 99%, this has got to be another one of them. He breaks it. I just catch a flash of like a cinnamon brown. I know it's not a deer because I'm not seeing front legs, I'm not seeing ass, I'm not seeing hind legs, I'm not seeing a tail. You know, I know it's him, and I know the deer don't make that kind of noise. And it starts Baghdading towards him. And now when I say fast, I mean fast and fluid. Yeah, like very fast. Like I've shot deer, I'm sure Tim has, on the run. This would have been next to impossible to hit because, you know, a deer is long. This is tall, okay? But when he stood by that tree, I just want to let you know, like you can see moss on this tree right here, okay? But yet there are no limbs. There's nothing on this here, okay? In some of the trees. So my objective from back there was I need to find a marker on the tree that it's at. And I found some moss. I visually seen the moss on here. I said, I gotta remember that, you know? So he gets out to that point out there, and the other one meets up with him, and they start doing the infamous samurai chatter. I've never heard it before. I've never heard the Ron Moorhead tapes, the Sierra Sounds. I've never heard anything like that. I'm all about like, holy cows.
And this is way before that.
Yeah. My mind is being blown. You know, I'm more into like, damn, nobody's gonna believe this the whole time. My mind is going like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to remember this, I can remember glasses, whatever on human beings. So I'm sucking all this information in. Color of hair, eyes, everything I possibly can. So he gets out to that point there, and that other one comes over and meets him up there, and they're kitty cornering me like I be facing you, only way further back. And that big one, he starts chattering to the other one, And that little one's chattering back, and finally the big one goes like this. Points right at me. Right at me. And there was a little sapling branch that was in the way. And that smaller one goes and snaps his head at me like,
Oh shit.
so I'm saying to myself, I don't think that it knew that I had gotten out in front of him, and that original noise that I heard was them pushing the deer towards this one set up on a pinch point. And he was getting chewed out by an elder. Now he would have very dark brown, like you might think it was black hair.
Right.
Okay, but his skin tone was so dark too that it matched up in there. Okay, so he chewed him out. He did the double take on me, and then the big one looks at him and he goes. And now I'm saying to myself, up until that point, I'm saying to myself, if they leave the vicinity, I'm going to follow them. You know, I want to know where you're going. I'm really intrigued. Why would you not? If a UFO landed in front of you, why would you not, with the door open, why would you not want to go in there and check it out? Maybe it's just me.
No, I'm with
Ernie,
you.
whereabouts they met? You're right here. Whereabouts? In what direction?
Well, if this is the original spot, it would have been back directly towards the tree, which I'm assuming I'm standing near the tree to this day.
Diagonal to your left.
But you would have to go to your left, way more to your left, way more to your left.
Are they like is it like a football field away from you, say?
It was a total of what appeared to be 55 yards.
Wow, that's cool.
Out from
And
there.
he's chewing
Yeah.
out the young one.
Right. And
Like you let him get by.
Right, and Sibylla Irwin actually dropped a advanced Google Earth pin on my position, because you could see it on the Google Earth from that show. And the first position, where I claimed 35 yards, and I'm forced to stick with it. She dropped the pin on it, and it came up to 38 yards.
Okay.
And that's just a bow hunter. I can still pie plate it. I'm still pretty lethal at that. Okay. The second position, I claimed 55 yards, more towards your left. 15 yards to your left. Yeah, 15 yards to your left.
It's the Wojo. You got to say the other left.
Come on, Bobo.
Bobo.
So I was really set to follow them, you know.
Yeah.
But then it basically went like that to that smaller one, and told it to go to my right, because I would have been standing here and they would have been over there, and he would have been doing this.
Yep.
After pointing to his chest, he went like that, and then he pointed to his own chest, and he went. Meaning that's where he's going to go.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking,
Flank.
okay, you got deer over here, you're going here, you're going here. Obviously the big one did that for my benefit, out of respect for me, because he could have told it to go that way, and he didn't. He hand signaled it. The hand signal I'm going to see. So maybe it was for my benefit to understand that we're moving.
Yeah.
We don't want you to go over there. That's ours. Okay?
Yeah, you go near
which
their
was
food.
an agreement.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back to that palm thing. Was he showing me his lifeline, or was he showing me, which you never hear me mention, his headline? And for those that want to investigate the headline, you just might want to do that. You might find something pretty fascinating there. Okay? But he got out to, and yeah, Wojo's right about, you know, back, you got to go back about maybe probably, well, I don't know, from my original position to here to where he is, it'd probably be about 55 yards. Yeah, right about there, right about there. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. You're other good.
You're good. Don't get out of our eyesight. We won't know where you are.
So what is he supposed to be right now?
He's where
He's at the position which you can barely see because of all of this brush line in here.
Right.
Okay? I know it. I know it. I know it because I'm looking at the terrain right here because I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
Okay? I had to figure out when I get to this tree its height. And I found a piece of moss. But here's what I noticed too. Is you're not going to notice it so much after all these years, but there's a dip here. This at one time was a knoll. And at one time this was a perennial pool.
Grassy knoll.
Right here. I believe very strongly that it spider crawled up to this position right here. It's objective because it would have been laying right here like this, laying here.
Right.
Its objective was to get to this tree without being spotted.
Right, and wait.
Okay, and there was no way anything was going to see it. It didn't want to give itself away. But if you're 7'8", almost 8 feet tall, and you stand up you're pretty visible in the woods. The deer are gonna see that. They're gonna say, that's not right,
Right.
okay? And that's why he got up to the tree, and when he got up to the tree, he got up to it close enough where he was crouched down, and he used it, and that's where I really started saying to myself, that's not a bear, that's a big guy. This is a big guy. And as he got up taller, because his head was the whole time on this side watching over the stone wall, I'm like, okay, I need to take into consideration, where's my mark? Where can I find a mark on that tree? I need to know how big this thing really is, just in case. You know, if I'm able to tell the story, and I hope that I can tell the story, I want people to have the information, because I feel that it's very pertinent that you have this, because it's behavioral, is what it is. We are witnessing, I'm witnessing something that I don't know if anybody's ever seen before, but if they never have, I need to try to preserve it somehow, you know. And as it turned out, 35 years I never heard it, and I prayed, believe me, strongly, I prayed that, dear God, please let somebody come forward and I'll join elbows with you. Nobody ever did, so that left me to man up and stand in the field.
Yeah, and take the beatings.
Is Wojo done?
And I made my phone calls, you know. Maybe someday he'll actually look at this and say, that's, you know, it really is, it is true, you know. And maybe 35, 38 years ago, if somebody would have listened, that most of this would be solved for people. These things are highly intelligent. This thing looked very, very human-like, but it looked Neanderthal, Native American, Jamaican skin tone, brow ridge, nose, not flat, not ape-like, you know, but we have no way to describe those things. The artwork was done pretty much exactly the way that it should have been done for the features and everything, okay? I had one other person before that one do some drawing on it, and they just freaked right out. I showed that when we were up at the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival at the night we had the meeting and stuff, I think, or across the picnic table. I slid my phone across. I said, this is what scared this man. And this legitimately scared this man, because what he was drawing was from people that had encounters of 5 to 11 seconds long. Your mind just starts going flippy on you, and I admit it, when you listen to the encounter, I thought it was a deer, then I thought it was a bear. You know, at that body size, it was using that tree to upright itself. And as it got up a little
Motorcycle.
as it got up a little
No, I think I was
Did you
Wojo.
knock something?
Oh, Wojo's doing shit.
You did a knock?
Wojo did?
Did you do a knock?
Wojo.
Did you knock?
I heard it.
You heard the knock?
Yeah.
I heard it for
No,
sure.
I picked it up too. I picked it up too.
Okay.
What
Did
happened?
that.
He broke the law.
You broke a rock.
Something like that.
With his bare hands.
This guy's strong. Don't mess with him.
But the terrain is so different now, but
So so when you're here and you start noticing them crawl up, so you, like you said, it goes from possibly a deer to a bear to a person.
yeah, to a person,
Right.
if I were to reenact that,
Yeah.
it would have been probably the equivalent of this. Now, I know that silhouette is no longer a bear,
Right.
okay? That this is definitely, bear's probably not going to be doing that. But it's still kind of big bodied, and it looks like a person. You wouldn't be able to mistake me, you know? But as I'm watching out of my peripheral and stuff and checking
Getting bigger.
on this hunter, okay,
Now it's a
he
hunter.
gets up like this, and he goes like this. Now he's fully erect. He's fully stretched out. Now I know this is absolutely,
Not a person. And are you
if it is a person, I'm still weighing it in my mind. I'm saying, if this is a guy,
He's huge.
I've fought matches. I've seen some big men. I've been to the wrestling matches and seen some big men. You know, if this is a man, this is the biggest man I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
You know, when he was over towards me, I was able to get a better judgment on his body weight. I guessed him north of 500 pounds in excellent condition, absolutely excellent condition.
So he was physically cut.
Oh, he was cut up.
Yeah, chest.
Yeah, he was cut up.
And
He was
and
cut
let
up.
me mention that you're a butcher by trade, so you're pretty good at judging weight.
Yeah,
Of
I'd
meat.
say so. You know, some people say that they get so many pounds per foot or whatever on a forest person or whatever. That's good, you know. But you know, this thing was so cut up that it could have been closer to 600
Because
pounds.
of muscle mass. Is
Yeah,
heavy.
and at 7'8", you know, some people might say maybe that's a juvie. No, that's not a juvie giving out directions and setting up on this point right here.
He was leading the hunt.
He's leading the hunt.
He's doing the work.
Yeah, and if anything came over that stone wall, this Jamoki
gonna
was going to
smoke it.
finish it off. Was going to run it down. From what I see from that cinnamon brown colored one,
Yeah.
and speed that one got over there, and that one there was a little bit above his shoulder, but yet below, like
Not as tall.
not as tall, like about neck level, which I would have put it maybe, I don't know, 6'8", somewheres around there, which was still a lot bigger than me, and still a lot faster than me, you know. But that's why I got the impression that this is absolutely the biggest man I have ever seen in my life, and I need to just start sucking in information and,
Yeah.
you know.
So when you're going to leave now this is all dying down.
Yeah.
They're kind of going off. You can still hear their movement. They're breaking, anything like that? Are they smooth and stealthy?
No, when they broke up, I heard a little bit of noise, but that was it,
Yep.
just a little bit.
And what do? You start
Directional.
backing out?
No, what I did was, I immediately came over to the tree that he was hiding behind,
Looking for information.
trying to get my information, and then off to the left of the tree, there was a little bit of a knoll,
Yep.
and that's how I figured that it must have crawled to that tree. And then there was ferns, like ferns, and you could see, like this old plant life, and I couldn't get a track, an impression in the ground, but I could see, like if you watch where I had just walked, if I walk on plants, you can see where I push it down, and that I could see. And what I tried to do is from the point is where he got to this tree, to go back out in that direction, is I tried to replicate that stride by standing still and jumping into it, and I fell miserably short. So I just got back maybe about this far, facing the tree, because it's kind of ridiculous to try to stand to a tree backwards and hold your hand up. Yeah, okay, I'm not measuring for my mom or dad. They're not here, because when you do that, and then you turn around, I mean, how are you going to do that? So I did try it. Yeah, so I came up and I faced it this way, put my hand on the tree this way here. This is 1 inch, tip of the finger, first knuckle, and I went up from there. I know how tall I am. I know where the moss is. I'm going to measure up from there, and I got up to 7'8" on that. And I said, well, you know what? Truth of the matter here, so everybody knows this. I looked at that and I felt like a jackass. I said, you know what? I must have got the runt of the woods. I thought these things were a hell of a lot bigger. Like that wasn't big enough for me. I said, I said, I must have got the runt of the woods. I said, geez. So who am I going to tell this story to? First off, I might tell it to somebody and they might say, well, they're like 10 or 15 feet tall. Okay, so now I'm a liar. Okay, wait a minute. And I did have this happen. And I won't mention names, and he knows. I told him that I would meet him someday, and he never knew that he met me, and I met him. Okay, but the thing was, and it was his remarks. He goes, "There is absolutely no way. They do not look like that. They do not do that because we're talking about behavior here. We're talking about intelligence. We're talking about setting up pinch points here. We're talking about giving me respect. We're talking about awareness. To be that aware. I wasn't lucky or anything like that meeting him here. I feel it was a curse, but now I look back on it, and you're lucky. It isn't me. You're lucky.
Yep. Sure am. Sure am.
I have nothing.
Yep. No. We're just glad you're sharing your story with us.
Oh, my God.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. Give me one. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Good stuff.
It's hard, man. People have to understand that stuff creates PTSD and all kinds of shit, and then ridicule and anger and bullshit. And you're over here fighting for your life. You know. Imagine that, because people don't realize you're at that moment right there. You're wondering if you're gonna live or die.
Yeah.
Right.
Ernie, what year was that? Ish.
Yeah, it was mid to late 80s. It's right around there.
So at that point, 67, 68, Bigfoot showing up with the Bob Gimlin pictures in October.
Yep.
And there's really not any knowledge of that thing out here.
Right.
Right.
Except for the local law.
Right.
And so Bigfoot isn't even a thing out here.
Hell
It's
no.
like nothing. So
Back then, there's one Bigfoot running around all of the
Yeah,
United
up
States.
in the
and
northeast,
he looks
northwest,
like
I mean.
He looks like a monkey.
how could it possibly be here?
So when this guy's telling
Nobody
you he's
talked
doing
about it.
all these different things, the reaction is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I can, I can understand that to the point. But when you're talking to the man,
Yeah.
and the man's sharing his story with you, you have to go by the man, right? But what's he got going on over here? We can't bring him
And
in.
my
here.
heartfelt thought in that process was that if I had lived through this, if it had transpired correctly, that I was going to be able to tell this to people that would have very valuable information. It wasn't anything for me. There was nothing there. I had experienced it, So there was nothing left for me. I was on that outing with these guys up there at the reservation. I was sitting there with a cell phone in my pocket this past weekend with another man. And it was nothing to me to hear them chattering in the woods. Absolutely nothing, like it was second nature. And here I am sitting there with a cell phone, and I never dawned on me to do that I was going to record something for you guys.
Yeah.
And all knowing that I had already recorded something in my mind.
Yeah, 100%. And the beautiful part about that story was, I was in the woods with Denny O'Donnell, and I looked at him and I go, "Is that chatter? I hear chatter." And he goes, "I didn't hear anything." And I point over here and diagonally
Yeah.
to my left. I'm on that path. You guys are up in the circle.
Yeah.
And I'm pointing over to the left, and I'm like, "Dude, I heard."
Yeah.
Just like that. I
Yeah,
heard it.
that's
Plain as day.
them.
And then I came up and I talked to you guys, and you guys mentioned you heard chatter. And I looked at Denny. I go, "I told you I heard chatter, dude." He goes, "Dude, you got good ears." I'm like, "That's already been proven." So where you guys were sitting in the circle, you were playing the flute.
Yeah.
And that chatter was kind of off straight from slightly to the
Well, I'm
left.
sitting on the back of the truck, Matt and I sitting on the back of the truck because the flute finally had wetted out on me.
Right.
And that's when we picked up the first sound you guys didn't hear. It was a bird. It's past 11 o'clock at night.
I heard the bird.
But
I
yeah,
heard the bird.
that's what I told you. You got excellent hearing because him and I looked at each other and we both pretty much we knew. You could tell when you're looking at somebody whether they understand or not. And I understood that is not a bird that you hear at night. That's not a bird you hear at night.
I made a comment. I go, "What is that, a night bird?"
And then it was like
That's what I
soon
said.
after that, because we knew that where you logistically were and where everybody was out there, we knew where you guys were. We hear the owl, but what we hear on the owl from our side is you're going to hear something maybe slightly different from here
Yes.
and the person from here, depending on the terrain and everything.
Yep.
What we hear is an owl screwed up.
Yeah.
It
That's
screwed
right.
up the call.
It did.
Okay, because it was hoo.
It did.
It
Yes.
was like,
Yeah,
well,
exactly what it did.
unless that owl's just swallowed a mouse or something,
Yeah.
it just screwed up its own owl call, you
Yep,
know.
yep.
And Matt looked at me and he goes, "That's not an owl." I said, "No." I said, "No, but to be sure, let's listen." That's when you lit up, or Wojo lit up and did an owl call back. And I said, "This should be testament to this." Yep, you got an answer back, but it was like about from our angle, like about maybe 10 feet lower than the original one. I'm going, that owl is not going to drop down if it's trying to mate or anything, calling another owl. And I said, and this should be the end of the calling back and forth. Nope, you guys call, it calls back again and does the same exact thing. You guys call, it recalls. I said, ain't no way you guys are that good to make an owl call, even though that one sucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sucked even worse.
And
Sucked
then
even
it was
worse.
at
I
that
don't even-
point
I don't
that
even
Matt,
let him do it.
Matt and I said to Matt, I said, well, I didn't say, I just used hand signals. I went. He goes, meaning they're gonna flank you. This is a chess move.
Oh,
Yes.
They're gonna distract
We
you
knew it.
and flank you, and you got noise on this side.
knew it.
And sure enough, we heard it. We heard one of them or something, like what sounded like something moving, very short. It screwed up and stepped on something,
Yep.
and we heard it.
Yep.
And we were like, "Yep." Now how far is it going to go? And it moved just a little further over, and then you got. That's when a little while after that, you got another owl call from a different area, but further back from where we heard the sound. So now we know, or I know, that there's two of them
Yep.
or more.
Yeah.
So you guys are now converging on that section right there.
Yep.
Okay. and my fluid had wetted out. So Matt and I are talking about quantum physics and stuff like that. Because I'm taking it like second, like, yeah, that's them, right? Well, now all of a sudden, you know, I see like light over here. So I'm going through my head. How far away am I from the pavilion over there where they got the trash dumpsters out over there? Am I picking up reflection or light? You know, if that's what that is, because the moon is kind of sporadic shining out here, I said, if that's what that is, then I need to focus on that and wait to see if something's crazy enough to silhouette itself. Okay? It seems that they don't like to do that they know how far that light, that they can stand in or outside of that light, like a campfire.
Yeah.
You can't nearly see outside as far as I can see you inside of that, okay?
right.
That's when Matt picked up movement low to the ground. So that told me that it was indeed close to that level of light, but didn't want to silhouette itself and was moving. He picked it up. I can't verify it, but he picked up the movement. He was looking, and it went along with what the movement was like that. We picked up the chatter, and it wasn't just a little bit of chatter.
Oh, no.
They didn't sound like I say, this one here was chewing out the other one in my encounter. They didn't sound like they were enjoying too much of this little thing here, but it sounded like they knew they were smarter than you. Okay?
It was like a whisper.
Their main objective was how many of you are there?
Right.
You know? So Jean Tweaksbury was wearing a white coat that night. Out of all of us, that she would have stood out, okay? So I says to Matt, I said, let's force a move. Let's force a chest move on him. And I was trying to get you guys, trying to hand something is drop your lights. Drop your lights, stop moving, don't move, because they're very patient, as Ritchie knows. They'll be very, very patient in what they do and wait a long time, not to expend those calories or anything, you know. And so we pick up that, we get her over there, and I said, hey, look, I said, why don't you just walk out on the trail? Because I know that they can't see me, and they can't see Matt, because we're blending in with the truck. They think they know you guys are over here, but they don't know how many. But they can see her, so they got a definite one right there. So Gene, you walk out to the corner of that path out there, and that's what Matt and I did. We're watching for that silhouette, you know. And sure enough, she walks over there. You know, I was hoping that maybe they had already flanked that far over.
Right.
Okay, but we pulled a little whoop-de-doo on them there, and again, we picked up movement below the silhouette. On something that should have been standing but wasn't, because it knew it would have been silhouetted good, but it was quick. You know, what was it? I can't say, but what did it act like? It acted like, and it sounded to me like you're being flanked, and that is them. Yeah. You know?
Well, at the time, you had front row seats, you and Matt.
Yeah, we
When
did.
the owl started, all right, that's when Ritchie stepped in the ring. Ritchie went toe to toe, beat the shit out of it. And all of a sudden, another one
Yeah.
in this general direction started chiming in.
Yep,
And I'm
reinforcements.
Going, and I said, oh, handicap match. And I'm going, oh, here we go. And it sounded like, you know, that choking like ending. I'm like, what is that? So,
Yeah.
and I think this guy that Ritchie was originally speaking to, he's trying to probably bail him out.
Yeah.
He probably went to the distance over there to bail him out.
They do.
But what you had to understand is
Chest
what we were doing when we got into the woods. I landed almost in front of one, me and Stan.
Right.
About 30 yards from us.
Right.
We heard the heavy movement. And I went, oh, that's big. And he goes, and not that far out. And I said, about 30 yards. And I said, just stay.
Yeah.
And because he's newer, and I even found an exit trail. I turned around and I said, that's our exit out of here. I signed it on it so he knew how to get out.
Yeah.
So we're standing there, and I heard this little light break to my right. It was a little tick. And I went, oh, shit, there's two of them. Usually is. And the big guy in front of me started going this way, kind of pulling this one with him. And he was pulling. We heard the heavy movement. So Denny ended up coming along here. Now I'm making my way up diagonal towards you guys. You're off to my left.
Yeah.
And I'm going closer to you as I go. And Denny kind of come in and join me like this. And he stops and he goes, is that movement? I went, yeah, bro. I said, shh. And he had a red light on.
Yeah.
And I said, shut your red light off. To me, that's just negative and energy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put on fucking green or blue or yellow or something fucking happy so we can say kumbaya. I don't want red, you know? So he's standing there and he goes, dude, that's big. And so he's now confirming what me and Stan have already experienced.
Right.
So we're hearing the movement. So what happened was, as we went up this hill, there's an old path, an old road, excuse me, right? Like you had mentioned. But there's a thin line of ferns that go through that road, and you could see it was all straight. All straight. Nothing teetering. And then all of a sudden, the little one broke off to the right. And I'm sitting there going, and I'm putting it together because I've been here and I've experienced this. He stopped moving. Now, I didn't know that he had them on thermal at the point. He had signatures on the thermal.
Right.
And I'm saying this because it coincides with what you just told everybody. So he's above me, right? Wojo's here, we're over here, and you guys are up in the parking lot over there, or in the parking area over there. So as we're creeping closer to Wojo, I literally had to call him because we didn't have our radios. I said, stop moving.
Yeah, I heard that.
So he went off to the right, and I took the light because he stopped moving in front of us, and I hit the one on the right where the direction he went in. As soon as I did that, big boy just started scuffling again to get our attention back. So we turned back like this, and I said, okay, I know what's happening.
It's a chess match.
That's Daddy. Daddy's got baby. Baby is going off to the right.
Get him out.
I heard him, right, and then he moved again so we could react. So then I believe there was 4. The other 2 were up on a hill. That was a hill off to you, where you guys were. So I think those 2 got a signal or a sign to start doing their thing. So when by that time we had come out of the woods, and I started doing my little arguments I do with Bigfoot a lot. And remember I did where you at? Remember I fooled him and I did the and messed with him. And then you could hear him go quiet. And then the next time he started up as the owl sound, it had more of a grasp. He was fucking pissed. He was like, and I'm like, that was terrible. That's a terrible owl. I yell at him all the time. We not mean, but we did the whistle one time, and I caught him with the whistle. And I was doing it back and forth, and I'm like, listen to this. And I knew it wasn't a bird. I kept saying, that's not a bird, dude. This dude's...
they're not going to go, no matter how good you are with a bird. I mean, just to call in a turkey, that's a talent.
You know what I mean?
Develop that skill.
Well, their tracheas are too big. Their tracheas are too big. Their lungs are too big. It's just not going to match up.
And that's the thing about...
And their lips are big.
These beings, we know that the reason why they have can speak is because of the 12th nerve. I spoke about that before. Because they have developed their tongue, that's your 12th nerve, by eating plants and swirling it in your mouth. When you eat grapes or anything, you're moving it around, anything like that. It develops that, and the shape of the jaw. Only humans really have something like that. And the other thing is the way, because we stand erect, the way that the air flows through, they can do that with your vocal cords. You're stretched out and things like that. But the other thing was, when we were down there hours before that, and I spotted those camp tents down there, I told Matt, I said, I'm going to tell you right now, I said, they're definitely, because I'm looking for evidence on what I had seen go across that field. Like, I'm going to rule out a car, I'm going to rule out a horse, anything of that size, a cow. I'm looking for those kind of tracks. Deer tracks are already down there. That's kind of a gimme, I think, no matter where you go. But I'm looking for evidence of something that's relative to that size that I could have even miscued on or something like that. Now I'm gonna pick up on the direction that it was going. What is in that direction, and why, and where did it come from? Because we know that they're going to use concealment. And it actually off the road on the other side was a little trail going down in there. As we went down, we moved down along that where the sand hill was, the black sand, whatever you want to call it there. Even though I tried to walk up on it, I'm going to cave it in. Whatever it was heavy, and it walked in line, and I mean perfectly in the center of that stone dust. Perfectly in the center of that stone dust. So it was very well balanced. I couldn't do it, but I'm a lot older too. Maybe somebody a lot younger. So that's what we're going to think. It was somebody, maybe a kid's up here messing around. Maybe they're down by the tents or something, So I'm looking at it. No, you're not. You're sinking in more than a kid would be sinking in. You got to pretty much weigh at least what I'm weighing in order to make that track. And then when I seen the tents, I told Matt, I said, they like that because that was one of the experiments that a good friend of mine did with tents by setting some things up in different tents at different distances with lights and a little bit of different kinds of sounds, like languages, things like that, or somebody of a particular hair color would go to one tent and somebody, are they drunk?